create a customer, you'll be taken immediately to that customer page. This is what you would see if you were to click on this customer from the main customers list. So we'll go over this main page first, and then the rest of these tabs at the top. As you can see, you will see the name of the company, whatever account number they have or customer number they have, based on if you put in a custom number or if you just allowed the system to create the default. We went ahead and created the default. Over on the right, this will show you if there is a balance on the account with new invoices, as well as if there is an existing credit balance that can be used. As you can see, this section shows you a lot of the information we just input, contact information, their payment terms, if their account has an account owner, as well as currency language, whether or not they are within your business network, as well as the date that their account was created. Now if we hit edit on this section, as you can see, it will bring up that same screen that we were looking at earlier, except this time it's just editing the customer. So if there's any sort of issues, or if the customer needs to be changed, or if, let's say, the customer business moves to a different location, you can come in here, update their address, anything that you need to do. Go ahead and just add a private note on here. As you can see, that shows up on the notes section. This section is really simple. Just add on to those notes as needed and hit save. So you don't need to edit the customer to edit the notes section. Contacts, this is going to be for if the customer has a secondary contact that they want on the account aside from the main address and email on there. So this is going to be for situations where, let's say, there's an accounting team that wants to have their CEO CC'd on all of their contacts. This is the section where you would add in that CEO contact information. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that if you want them to be listed on an email contact, you do have to select them as default. If you do not select them as default, they will still appear on the contact list for the customer, but they will not be CC'd onto any email contacts. They will just be on the account for your reference. As you can see on here, this section off to the right is going to be where you would see invoices, credit notes, estimates, and any existing payments associated with the customer, as well as a section for adding additional files of any kind. These are for your viewing purposes only. So if you have a specific notice that the customer may have sent, or if there's any legal papers that you just want to keep track of involving this customer, this is the section where you would attach those files. Now from this screen, we do have a couple additional options, which we will get into at a later time. This section right here allows you to add something to the account. So you have the option for adding invoices, credit notes, a new estimate, subscriptions, pending line items, receiving a payment, and adding credits to the account. So all of these are for just putting something new onto the account. Actions is going to be for any additional changes that are going to be made, either short-term or long-term, to the customer. So you have adding them to your business network, generating a sign-in link. This is what you would use in the event that you want to, send them a login so that they can access their customer portal if you have the customer portal feature. Generating a statement. This would be for if you need to send them a statement of what they owe. You can do that directly from here if you want to send that in addition to the normal contacts that they would receive when you send an invoice. Stop watching. This essentially would turn off any notifications that you have going to a specific account owner or a specific agent or employee as far as the customer goes. So you're probably not going to use that very often, but that would be useful essentially if you really don't need to receive notifications on this specific customer. And then assign a sign-up page, sort of the same thing as the sign-up link, except this is what you would start with. So this would generate a sign-up page, which will allow them to go in, create their login, so they can get to the customer portal. Merging customers, something that we'll get into at a later time as well, but essentially if you have two customers, or if you have a duplicate customer that you need to combine together, this is what you would select. As you can see down here, there's two additional options, make inactive and delete customer. If you are no longer doing business with a customer, we do recommend setting them to inactive. This will keep a record of the customer on the account and allow you to reference them as needed. They'll still be part of your recent reports if there's any reports involving recent activity, but they will not be receiving any additional invoices. If someone goes to try and create an invoice for them, it will just tell them that you can't create an invoice for an inactive customer. This is also something you can turn off as well. So if you make a customer inactive and then you need to turn them back on again, you can do that. Deleting a customer is something that is very rarely used, and we highly recommend being very mindful of when you would like to use it. Deleting a customer does exactly what it says on the tin. It will completely delete the customer as well as the associated invoices involved with them. It's very much something that we see very few one-off cases for needing. Most accounting systems do still require record keeping to some extent. This would really only be used for circumstances where you feel you really need to purge the data on a specific customer. So just keep that in mind, that this is an irreversible process. So once you delete a customer, there's no going back, there's no reversing that deletion. So just keep that in mind when you use this. We do not recommend using this on a regular basis. Next, let's take a look at some of the additional options up here. So the first section is going to be your collections. So if you enable customer chasing, here you are going to see the steps associated with that chasing. We currently do not have chasing set up, so we'll leave that as it is. But if a customer was on chasing, you would see the activity of those steps taking place, as well as any steps if they were to fail, or if you sent an email and they viewed it or responded to it, you would see all of that information on this page. Report is a smaller version of the dashboard essentially for this specific customer. So it would give you some information on their time to pay, their CEI, and their DSO, as well as other information as far as their MMR and expected payments. So this can be really useful just to get a quick snapshot of the customer, where they're at, and as you can see, you can select sort of a custom time period to get that information as well. Now do keep in mind this is not a report, in the sense that it's not really something that you're going to be exporting. So this is really just to give you an information snapshot of the customer. If you are looking to create a report, that's going to be in the reports section that you can see down here, which we will get to in a different video. And lastly, you're going to see the history section. The history section is going to be your internal record of everything that happens to this customer at any given time. So as you can see, there was a log for us creating the customer, and there were logs for us updating the notes. This is great for if you want to check on the status of an invoice. So if an invoice is issued to a customer, it's going to show here. If there is a change to that invoice, if the invoice goes into past due, if the customer views the invoice, all of that information is going to show up here.